Hello and welcome to this special radio town hall meeting on Whistleblowing by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. I am Adele Biobiabumo, the Program Manager at PRIMOG. PRIMOG is a civil society group with a mandate to promote good governance, participation and accountability in Nigeria. The MacArthur Foundation supports this town hall meeting against corruption. Today's program will aim at galvanizing citizens to join the fight against corruption in Nigeria through whistleblowing. The program has brought together resource persons who will take an in-depth look at the progress made by Nigeria in the fight against corruption since the federal government initiated the whistleblower policy, as well as the failures and frailties of the policy. We will also seek to understand how the ordinary Nigerian men and women on the street perceive whistleblowing as an anti-corruption tool and factors limiting them from exposing corrupt acts near them. For you listening to us out there, please remember that you are an important part of this meeting. You will have the opportunity to contribute when we open the phone. You can also watch us live on Facebook at Official PRIMOG. PRIMOG is spelled P-R-I-M-O-R-G. We will give you the phone numbers to reach us in the course of the deliberation. And we want to know, as a citizen, what is your understanding of whistleblowing? How often do you expose corrupt acts around you? Are there reasons why you wouldn't want to blow the whistle against corruption when you see it very close to you? Do you know that Nigeria will be a better place if we all frown at corrupt acts around us? Whether you are a mechanic, a tailor, student, electrician, cook, driver, or you work in the public or private sector. You can begin to send your views to 0902 265 6167. That is 0902 265 6167. Let's now listen to the opinion of some citizens on whistleblowing. I will be right back to introduce my guest. Don't touch your dial. Voices against corruption. Let the people speak.
Hello and welcome to PRIMOG's public feedback series on corruption called Voices Against Corruption. And we ask, will more Nigerians be whistleblowers if they know they are protected by the law?
The Freedom of Information Act Section 27 tend to give some level of protection to public servants. But aside public servants, even at that, the level of the protection is such that, okay, you might not necessarily be sacked, but you could be transferred and all other things can happen to you. But when there's a Whistleblower Protection Act that is passed and signed into law, not just in the public service, you find a lot of people who volunteer information that will go a long way in enhancing the anti-corruption drive of the current administration.
Nobody wants to risk his life or her life. So when there is law protecting them, more people will be eager to blow that whistle.
No. There is no protection at all. Those who are blowing whistle in Nigeria are on their own. People who blow whistle has always been the targets of either oppression or deprivation, one deprivation or the other. So they are not protected. But if actually with the country is serious, those who are whistleblowers should be protected by the powers that be.
Most Nigerians want a better Nigeria, but they wouldn't want to blow a whistle which they will not be protected. Every Nigerian knows that a step ahead of anything they do will bring about a change if the system is actually working.
There are laws protecting the whistleblower. I can confidently blow whistle when I know I am covered, and at the end of the day, I will not be harmed. Why won't I blow whistle?
The policies that protect the people are not on ground in Nigeria. We don't have policies that protect the people. The police, all the law enforcement agents, they are systems that people use to, hide from crime. So I don't know, the same person that is going to protect me is protecting the man I'm trying to expose. So I'm not sure I want to be part of that whistleblowing thing, because there is no security measures that will protect those who do that.
Corruption has taken us to where we never expected we are going, and things has really fallen apart. So there is the need, if there is a law protecting them, we need more of the whistleblowers, so that the secret of many Nigerians that have made things to fall apart and the center could not hold, so that they will be exposed.
When one blows and you have given him the condition or what he expects after blowing, and at the end of the day nothing happens around it, is it not corruption? You understand? So whistleblowing itself must be dealt with holistically, so that in itself there will not be any corruption shrouded around it.
There is a serious security breach when it comes to whistleblowing. Everybody comes out with a different opinion, call it whistleblowing. When you are being paid off, the whole matter dies off. So I don't think there is anything like whistleblowing, and since the laws are not working, so the whistleblowing is very weak.
And average Nigerians, they are not really protected by the law.
There are a lot of people who show interest in blowing the whistle, but because of the lack of assurance of personal safety, a lot of people are hesitant.
If there is a room created for that in Nigeria, for a citizen to be a whistleblower, it's very good. But you first of all say security. If the citizen will be protected, why not whistleblower? We are here to fight corruption.
If we have our law enforcement backing the law, then most people will want to do that. But at the same time, we have to look at the angle of the people responsible for the protection. Because this country, we're at a point that people have to look out for themselves. Looking at a situation where we want more people to come and blow whistle, what happens to them at the end of the day? What happens to them after? Can you protect them forever? Can you protect them for as long as 2-3 years? Do you get? So that's the problem here, because the people we are supposed to blow the whistle on, they are very smart in that regard. They have their tight circle.
There is a psychological fear for a lot of people in Nigeria where you see something going on and you're just scared. You don't want to be caught, or you probably don't even want people to know you're the one who blew the whistle. You feel me? So it's one of those situations where I wouldn't really think people feel very comfortable and secure being a whistleblower in the country. If we have a law that we all abide by, then that's a situation where we can feel like, if I blow the whistle, I know that the law will protect me.
Come again to the program. You are listening to a town hall meeting on whistleblowing. If you're just tuning in, you're right on time as the deliberations are about to begin. As part of an effort to fight corruption, the federal government of Nigeria launched whistleblowing policy in 2016, which entails encouraging well-meaning and patriotic citizens to volunteer reliable information on unethical practices in the public sector. According to the federal government, the policy yielded results as they received at least 8,000 whistleblower tips and recovered 594.09 billion naira between 2016 and 2020. The Whistleblower Policy Protection Bill is also in the works in the National Assembly. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, established the Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit, ACT2, as one of the implementation mechanisms for its mandate on prohibition and prevention of corruption, especially in the public sector. As of today, are more citizens participating in the fight against corruption? What should we do to get better results? My guests today are passionate with diverse experiences with me in the studio. In the studio we have Nelson Kebodi, who is an Abuja-based legal practitioner, Emmanuel Ibeleme, an editor at Nigerian Pilot Newspapers. Let's quickly start the discussion with Nelson Kebodi, an Abuja-based legal practitioner. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Good morning, listeners.
So what are we missing as a nation by running on whistleblowing policy without a law from 2016 to date? We know we have a policy, but we're yet to have a legislation on whistleblowing and whistleblower protection. So what are we missing?
Okay, thank you so much. The what we miss by, or what we continue to miss by the absence of a legislative framework for the proper implementation and galvanization of the policy, the whistleblower policy that was launched in 2016, they are so numerous. Ordinarily, it's easier for people to quantify what we miss in Naira and Kobo. But for me, I think it's more than that. First of all, the whistleblower policy, upon its announcement and approval by the Federal Executive Council in December 2016, received massive enthusiasm and embrace by Nigerians across board. And for the first time, I was looking at a way at something that was going to launch a trajectory of ownership by Nigerians, the policy ownership by Nigerians that will drive an ethical revolution in our public sector. As we have discovered that as time goes on, by virtue of the fact that there is no proper legislative framework to design the incentive properly, how to appropriate it, including the protection, in whistle, because whistleblower is a very risky act. That is the truth. But we must be able to salvage our nation. So that goodwill, that is how it begins to die. So that is what we miss. For me, I think that if we are able to pursue and have a proper legislative framework that drives the policy in its proper form, after how it is done in some other countries with proper protection, I think that we'll be able to revolutionize the public sector and especially the civil service, where there is so much, it's a cesspit of corruption. If we are able to find a way and galvanize citizen support, I believe that there is no policy change seriously will not come from Aso Rock, and that is the trajectory. The civil service will change whoever occupies Aso Rock. But if you have a citizen driven engagement policy that they take ownership of and continue to work with and run with it, that is where we'll be able to even touch the civil service.
While you are asking for citizens to take ownership, do you think they truly understand what this policy is all about and what whistleblowing is?
I think so, because it will show, even from the statistics we have now, you will discover that the amount of recoveries that we made between 2016 and 2017, and the popularity of the program has dwindled over time. Compared to what we have now. Okay. So you see, even about 80% or to 90% of the amount that we have recovered as of 2020 was recovered in 2017, until people began to see that when I report to you, the federal government is giving me this is food, or when I report, come and take this, you report and take this food. And as you are coming to take the food because of the incentive, the 5% or 2.5%, you are coming to take the food, but there's somebody lurking in the dark that when you take the food, you will not be able to get to your house to eat or to enjoy the food. So it becomes a dilemma. So people are already, that consciousness is growing, unfortunately, and so we have to arrest that to be able to move and continue to drive the momentum that this program has brought initially.
Okay, I would emphasize again that the whistleblower policy is key in the fight against corruption, and it is the civic responsibility of every citizen to blow the whistle. That is all manner of wrongdoing, but not for personal vendetta. In the studio here we have Princess Halima Jibril, who is a media consultant, a public affairs analyst, and an activist. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so what do you make of the use of whistleblowing as an anti-corruption mechanism in Nigeria? And do many citizens understand this policy?
Thank you for having me once again. Whistleblowing should have been one of the best things that had happened to Nigeria. But unfortunately, it's not. Because number one, it's not backed by legislature. If you want something to at least have a meaning and have authenticity, you need to back it by legislature first. Then implementing it will now become another thing. You should strategize very well for it. And in any case, a lot of people, citizens of Nigeria, they just barely heard of the whistleblowing of a thing. Because does it really make any impact in their lives? It doesn't. If you want to do policies that work in Nigeria, first of all, you back it up by legislature. You create enough awareness for it in multilingual languages, Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, that people will hear, even Pidgin. And then you enforce it. When you enforce it, you also give the enforcement publicity so that citizens will know that it's working. And then whatever you recover, for instance, citizens need to know what you are doing with it, because so much is being recovered and Nigerian citizens are still in penury. They are not feeling the impact of whatever is being recovered. So the policy seems to be for them up there, that we citizens don't actually know what they are doing with the policy. And then another aspect of the policy is, I blow whistle on someone, what is my safety? What guarantee do I have of my safety?
Protection of the whistleblower.
Yeah, protection of the whistleblower. How do you protect me on the immediate, on the short, medium and long term? Because it may protect me immediately, I blow the whistle. But those I blow the whistle on, they are not resting. On the long run, when you have taken your eyes off me, they may come after me. So those are the issues.
That's key, protection of the whistleblower.
Yeah,
but
very
you talked
key
about
indeed.
the benefits of blowing the whistle if citizens understand. But when you juxtapose the personal benefits with the consequences of corruption, don't you think the consequences of corruption, that is the need, the reason why citizens should blow the whistle, should outweigh their personal benefits when it comes to whistleblowing?
My dear, you are in a country where things are abnormal. Of course, I will be happy to blow a whistle. But if my safety is not guaranteed, for instance, why should I do that? Those are the key issues. Life is very important. Life is sacrosanct. You cannot take my life away because I've blown a whistle. And in any case, even if my life is not taken away, the impact of the recovery, the recovered loot or whatever, I may not feel it. I may not feel it, because otherwise I will blow the whistle, and then the process of compensating the whistle blower is so clannish. It's so clannish that you don't even understand why you have to blow the whistle.
Protection and compensation.
Yes.
Okay, in the studio we still have Emmanuel Ibeleme, who is the editor at Nigerian Pilot Newspapers. Section 22 of the 1999 Constitution emboldens the media and the journalists to hold the government accountable to the citizen. So, by extension, journalists are whistleblowers. The involvement of media practitioners in exposing corruption is very essential. Share with us some of the challenges journalists face in trying to expose corruption.
Thank you very much for having me in your studio. A program like this calls for truthfulness. The truth is that as much as it's been given and done for the media, there is still much to be done. The media practitioners themselves have a mandatory function to expose what government officials want to hide. Then you ask yourself the question, like the lawyers will say, they say he who goes to equity must go with clean hands. I don't want to stay here now and exempt the media from any culpability. They should be held essentially responsible for what is going on wrong in the country. I have a very strong belief that whatever goes wrong in this country, that the media people, we call them media practitioners, are culpable. That is one. It's important to stress that the journalists or other media practitioners have come short of expectations. And you can understand if that is a reason that, I mean, if you are asked to expose You must be in a very comfortable position to be able to expose. If you are lacking and you are going to expose, and the man or the woman or the institution you want to expose about dangles the carrot, what do you do?
By lacking, what do you mean? If the journalists lack what? I want you to be specific.
Yes, you lack motivation, you lack structure, you lack facilities to work, you lack proper remunerations. Journalists are not well paid in Nigeria, if they are paid at all. I'm not making a general statement. I mean, we should come out of a hypocritical stance. A lot of media houses are functioning on paper. You don't have them deep down. People are disaffected. How can you, who is supposed to be exposing, now be lacking? That's what I mean. But I can use that phraseology to seal it up instead of going down the drain of saying you are not paid and all that. But I should expect this level now. You say you can understand what I'm going, what I'm saying. So that is the problem. Journalism in Nigeria, unfortunately, in 2021, when you would think they would have attained a standard of excellence, because I interacted with a lot of journalists before I became one. I'm telling you that the quality of journalism in Nigeria today has gone down.
Because they are not motivated.
So many things. Education is even gone. Government factor is there. Government education. You know the quality of education, and you're supposed to be well educated. You're supposed to be well informed to be able to inform another person. But if you are not informed, then how are you going to inform somebody? It means you start from the very beginning to misinform, because you have a little knowledge or limited knowledge of what you are supposed to tell people about. So what do you expect? It's going to be disastrous.
Mm.
I mean, we should be able to say this unpretentiously.
Education and motivation.
Motivation and the work condition, everything. So when somebody is not, it is said that the dog does not eat the bone tied around his neck. It's not true. These days, the dogs will come to a conference and untie the rope.
Help each other
and
out.
eat.
Okay, in the studio we have Senator Shehu Sani, who is a former member of the Nigerian Senate. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
The 8th Senate, which you were part of, made efforts to get us a whistleblower law. It didn't work. And to date, Nigerians are still waiting for the law. My guests in the studio have said that. What could be responsible for the slow pace of work on such an important legislation by both past and present lawmakers?
Well, thank you for having me in this year's studio for the first time. Well, in the 8th Senate, we did a lot of things. One of which specifically on the issue of corruption. We conceived the idea of developing a law that will remunerate people who exposes corruption. And that law was also paneled to protect those who blow the whistle. But before that law comes into place, already the executive arm of the state decided to develop their own instruments for rewarding people who exposes corruption. Now, without a law, you will be exposing corruption, but you will also be breaking the law, in the sense that people who will expose such corruption may be open to libel in cases where issues they have raised are not true. And secondly, without a law, those who exposes corruption can end up being persecuted or being targeted by the people whom they exposed. So
there's a possibility of retaliation.
Yes. So what has seriously affected this law and other laws was the frosty relationship that existed between us and the executive at that time. Most of the laws we conceived and we passed and we forwarded to the president, were not signed. It wasn't only the whistleblowers law, but it also laws on petroleum industry, electoral reform, and a number of laws which we believe that if the president has appended his signature on them, this country could have moved forward. So I can say that it is not that we have not made the law, it is the fact that the president in the executive arm of the state always treated some of the laws we passed with suspicion and also with contempt. So in that sense, these are the problems we faced.
Does it mean that the executive are not aware of an important legislation like this?
Well, a lot of things happened, specifically on the issue of corruption. First of all was our outright refusal to confirm the chairman of the EFCC, which of course by that the government was not happy about it, but at the end of the day, when we were not there, they see reason for what we have done. And then secondly, already the government has seen that the fight against corruption is something which they should do it themselves. And in that sense, they are afraid of a law that will make it impossible for them to do what is called selective justice, because we have seen over the years whereby many of the people that were targeted by the anti-corruption agencies were people that are critical or opposed to the government, and it is continuing up to today. So it is part of the problem we face with the government. If you have a whistleblowers law during our time, the whistle will not be blown only on the opposition, and those the whistle will be blown will be those who are in government. For example, in the first tenure of this administration from 2015 to 2019, Nigerians were told that there will be a full publication of Nigerians who owns property in the United Kingdom. That was not done. And then later, the president twice visited Dubai, that is the United Arab Emirates, and told the world that very soon they are going to publish the names of Nigerians who own properties, questionable properties in Dubai. That was soon done. And even when the information spokesperson of the government threatened to publish the names of corrupt, so-called corrupt people, you find that it is mostly people who are in the opposition. And issues were raised continuously. The fact that the anti-corruption crusade of the administration is selective, it is targeting some persons. So when you have a whistleblower law, they will also not be safe. So I believe this is politics that seriously affected that.
Politics.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the interest of the nation should override whatever political interest or personal interest anybody has. Well, for you out there, listening to us, you're part of the discussion, and would like you to react to what we've been discussing in the studio. What is your understanding of the whistleblowing? As a citizen, do you know you have the responsibility of exposing corruption near you? And are there reasons why you won't want to blow the whistle against corruption in Nigeria? For those watching via Facebook, you can also drop your comment. We will take it. And the number to send your messages to is 0902-265-6167. Hello?
Yeah, Femi calling from Nigeria.
Let's hear you, Femi.
Your wisdom, and I will learn this from how you are relating. It's sad that we're where we are. It seems like the government is more powerful than the state itself. Because on one hand, a cry, I'm going to prosecute everybody corrupt, very tolerant for corruption. On the other hand, you're wondering, what are the mechanisms? What are the structures we kept in place? These two men died after a short period, when even people that blew whistle were now, their lives were threatened, a few of them were killed, and nothing happened.
So do you think that more citizens will
now,
Can you hear me, Femi?
Yes, I can.
Do you think that more citizens will be willing to blow the whistle if we have a whistleblower protection law?
Yes, it's like VAR when the referee is blowing the match. Because the referee knows that he's backed by law and the ability to blow that whistle, he will blow it.
Okay.
And if we found one thing, we can check with the VAR. So if there's a constitution backing the whistleblower, they will be confident in coming out to blow that whistle.
Okay, thank you so much, Femi. We want to give others the opportunity to make their contribution. We have a text message here. Please, when you're sending a text message, include your name and your location. It says whistleblowing can only work where justice and rule of law is believed and practiced. Thank you so much for your contribution. I still have my guest in the studio. Let's move to Princess Halima Jibril. You wanted to react when Senator Shehu Sani was making his own intervention.
Not really Senator Shehu Sani, because Senator Shehu Sani hits the nail on the head unequivocally, because he doesn't fear anybody. He sees it the way it is. Because if you are doing something, like I said earlier, you don't back it by legislature, and people blow the whistle, they are haunted and hounded, and they lost their lives and run away from the country, it means that you were not serious about it. What I was trying to add was when my journalist colleague said something about the media. You see, the Nigerian media are doing very well regarding the circumstances on ground. When you don't have an insurance policy, for instance, and the 90% of the media in Nigeria are owned by private individuals who are themselves, most of them are not professional, who just bring in anybody for asking, and their capacities are not built or developed, and they are not well remunerated, and the salaries are not paid as at when do you find that the environment itself where the media practice is not friendly, for instance. So how much do you want the media to do more than they are doing? Because if what you do bad, media will report it bad. If you do right, media will report it right. You cannot do bad and you want media to report you right. So you do the right thing and let the media report you right. So in the circumstances, Nigerian media are doing very well.
Nigerian media are doing very well. Just that the work environment is not too friendly.
It's not conducive.
Okay, let me get back to Barrister Nelson Kebodi. What form of support can lawyers, you're a lawyer, give citizens who are willing to expose corrupt acts around them, given the persecution and victimization of which that whistleblowers face today?
Okay. First of all, we all have agreed here that there is no formal legislative framework that backs up and protects whistleblowers from victimization. However, because we are dealing with the public sector, everybody in Nigeria has the constitutional right to hold opinion. The only limitation to that is if it's against any law, if it is not true, as in if it is born out of malice, and it is laced with falsehood. There's also the general responsibility of every citizen within the civic space to report any act of any criminality, misfeasance, or any act of corruption. Now, the duty of a lawyer in any society is to lawyer lives for the direction of the society by first of all ensuring that the rule of law or the law applies, and that people who suffer breaches are defended. So I would say that there is no law that protects anybody that is stealing and committing any act that is contrary, that is corrupt in public space. So the duty of lawyers and how lawyers can help is by ensuring that first of all, lawyers join in this advocacy to ensure that people who ensure that confidence in the public is restored, to report any act of corruption in the public space. And then the lawyers also has the responsibility, in partnership with right organizations like Primo, to defend and pursue the right of anybody victimized. And our court has been doing excellently well.
But are there lawyers who render pro bono services to victims of whistleblower victimization?
As a body, I cannot say there is none for now. It's part of the advocacy, but we know that a lot of lawyers are involved in pursuing right and doing public interest lawyering generally for persons who are victims of victimization, workplace intimidation, and all of that. And we have a lot of cases where the court has upheld such rights, even on pro bono basis, because it's part of the things that lawyers are supposed to do.
Okay, lawyers should render pro bono services, but for now you're not aware of any organization or body of lawyers who render such services. For you out there, the program is still interactive, or you can send a text message or a WhatsApp message to 0902 265 6167. That is 0902 265 6167. Let me get to Emmanuel Ibeneme. Do you think all Nigerians have the right information about whistleblowing? And how can we bridge this knowledge gap, if there is any?
Well, the answer is no. All Nigerians don't have the right information. They don't. Even those who are educated, education or enlightened, they may be in some other parochial areas. It is not true to say that even them who are educated don't have all the information that they should have about the whistleblowing policy. How much less those who are not educated? And we're talking about 200 million Nigerians or 206 million Nigerians.
So what is
the percentage? It's only we have to keep on informing. We cannot be tired of informing, educating, and entertaining with facts. You can convey very serious message by way of entertainment, and you must educate. You must inform first, educate, and entertain. That is the sequence, and we cannot be tired of it. And just yesterday, while I was in the office doing my work, editing, one of the stories I handled was that in spite of poor funding, a lot of other universities have been, tertiary institutions have been approved. And there are poor funding, which affects everything. Crisis here and there. Do we need to be specific to say we are? The state is not healthy, but we cannot because of it. Because soldiers go to war front and they are killed. You say there will be no more recruitment of soldiers. You cannot. You can't say because women die in the course of childbirth, there will be no more pregnancies. You can't. The situation is bad, but we have to keep on informing people. There's no other way to go other than to inform. But I'm saying that there should be right information. But let me tell you this thing. How can people be talking of education when people are hungry? Would you not eat first? If you want to prioritize, you have to first of all eat, be happy, then to read. Do you read on empty stomach?
But is that not why you should blow the whistle when those who are supposed to fund education divert the funds?
I'm not against blowing the whistle. It is good to blow the whistle. Before the official nomenclature of whistleblowing, there had been whistleblowing. And let me be particular and give you an instance. Amongst my siblings, I'm not a small boy. I'm 63 years already. I'm talking before I'm married. My siblings will say, look at him, he thinks he would be able to correct Nigeria. And when I look back, they are very correct. The more you try to correct Nigeria, the more Nigeria worsens in its state. It's a very unfortunate scenario, but we should be able to say what is happening to us truthfully. And we should say without apologies. And if I have to come to play to the gallery, I'll tell you the media is a paragon of excellence. It is not.
Well, from what you said, education is key. We need to keep giving out the right information to sensitize the citizens. Let's get back to Senator Shehu Sani. The whistleblowers policy is not enough to protect whistleblowers, and we are aware of the consequences. How can we get the current assembly to prioritize and expedite action on the whistleblower bill? And are there anything citizens can do?
Well, from my experience at the National Assembly, what I have come to learn, and by virtue of my own history, as someone who come from the activist section of the society and then found myself in politics, I've seen that most times people in the position of government, whether executive or legislature, loses the consciousness, the responsibility and morality of their being in office until there's a vigilance on the side of the people, constantly and consistently reminding them of what they need to do, their responsibility, their duty. That is very important. Over the years, the National Assembly, both the 8th and the 9th Senate, have tried to conceive the idea of coming out with what is called social media bill. During our time, we wasted no time in extinguishing that monster because we believe that it was an attempt to stifle the rights of Nigerians to freely express themselves in the guise of undermining national security. Then this 9th Senate resurrected it and are still working it. It's not dead. Now, the whistleblower bill can only work when you have a proactive and agile civil society that will maintain pressure on the lawmakers to do what is right. There are a number of laws that are gathering dust in the National Assembly. Some after the first reading, some second reading, some after public hearing, you will never hear about it. And especially when you have a subservient, pliant, and complicit parliament that is in bed with the executive, you will always find out that they will avoid any law that they believe that will upset, that will destabilize, and that will irritate those in the executive arm of the state. So what I'm saying is that when you have this kind of conspiracy that is called cooperation between the National Assembly and the executive side of government, you will see that the law that will be presented and be passed is the one that the executive wants. Unlike during our time, when we say this is what is supposed to be, whether the president likes it or not, it has to be done. And if we summon a minister of any head of parastatal, you can't come to us and be talking as if you are talking to your children. But this time around, they will even invite them, they refuse to come. And when they come, they will be begging them. And when they sit down with them, it's as if the legislators are the boys and the executive are the masters. This is unimaginable. It has reached a point during our time. The president will either send a bill or nominate you, and he will not give you the assurance that your nomination will be passed. Now, that is how a parliament is supposed to work. But this robust term philosophy, where they sit down and be loyal and be subservient and kowtow to whatever the president wants, only leads to a dictatorship in this country. So I do not think that a whistleblower policy that will expose, mind you, the corruption that will be exposed, 90% of that is done on the executive side. So it's like building a law for them that will expose them. And I don't know how that is going to be easy. So they prefer the one in which the one you expose, whether they like to pay you or not, whether they expose you without a law, and they do it. That is why, on the last note, you will see that this election reform bill has become a problem, because no government wants to come out with a reform program that will mark a suicide for itself.
Both the executive and the legislators will not be in office in perpetuity.
Yes.
The interest of the country, I repeat, the interest of the country should override and supersede whatever personal interests they have. So do you think that the law can still be made considering the time left?
It is possible to make law even within 2 to 3 weeks, because you do first reading, you do second reading, you do public hearing, and you do harmonization between the two houses, and then you send it to the president.
So
a serious project, yeah, he can achieve it. But if you don't want to achieve it, after the public hearing, you will never have anything about it again. And then when you try to raise it, they will tell you to off the mic. This is what happens. Yes.
But in the studio, we are not going to turn off the mic. We still have Princess Halima Jibril. You relate with citizens a lot as an active Rotarian. Nigerians seem to be unwilling to blow the whistle or expose wrongdoings around them. What do you think are the challenges of citizens when it comes to exposing acts of corruption?
The challenges are enormous. Poverty is the biggest challenge in Nigeria today. Whistleblowing could have helped to alleviate poverty if only citizens blow the whistle. Whatever is recovered is channeled back to citizens' upliftments. But that is not being done. So much have been recovered. The Abacha loots, the Koi gates, lots of them. And you ask yourself, why do I have to blow the whistle when those some of them come back to my community and help me feed my children? You see, Nigeria is in a stage where accountability is a big problem. People just wake up overnight and become rich, buy properties home and abroad, and nobody questions them. So the whistleblowing policy, for instance, need an act of parliament, president's assent, and then let's see how more people, then public enlightenment, and then let's see how people who blow the whistle are protected, because those who already did are not protected.
Okay, thank you for
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Our time is fast spent. Now let's have recommendations and solutions. I will start with you again. How do we reawaken the spirit of many Nigerians who may have been demoralized by the shortcomings of the whistleblower policy as we await a legislation?
Assurance. Assurance in the sense that if you do it, you are going to be protected. I keep saying that life is sacrosanct.
Protection for the whistleblower.
Protection for the whistleblower is very important, and it can only be derived from an act of parliament and a presidential assent to it.
Thank you so much. Let's take this call. Hello.
Thank you, Femi.
Femi calling back.
How is it that the National Assembly have not started out to ensure that the rule of law is actually the rule that everybody is subjected to? For example, the presidency can't say I don't want to sign things, and then we don't have any impeachment threat on him or anything, and then we get it back. Like, they said, call this terrorist, that hasn't happened. Now, whistleblower, you can blow the whistle, like they say, freedom of speech is free, but the consequence after you finish your freedom of speech is what they can't guarantee you. So until that speech is guaranteed.
Oh, we lost that call there. But let's get back to my guest in the studio as we look for solution and recommendation. Nelson Kebodi, as we await legislation for whistleblowers, what are some of the contents that the lawmakers must infuse to get a sound whistleblower law?
First of all,
in 1 minute.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, we must have proper protection mechanism in the law. Secondly, the incentive for whistleblowing and how to assess it must be so transparent in the law to encourage citizens' participation and ownership of the program.
Thank you so much. Protection for whistleblower. It's key. Then compensation and transparency. Thank you for that. Emmanuel Ibeleme, editor at Nigerian Pilot Newspapers. How can more journalists be motivated to expose corruption, and what would you tell journalists out there who are already demoralized over fear of victimization? In 1 minute.
Courage. Courage to do what is proper. In politics, Senator Shehu Sani is a politician, activist from Kaduna before being a politician. I remember Awolowo we said, if you can't stand the heat, you get out of the kitchen. Isn't it so? So if you are not well paid in your organization, that cannot motivate you to do what you should do, not what you want to do, then you go out and look for something else to do. Instead of staying there and desecrating the situation.
Profession.
Okay. Motivation again for journalists. Let's get to Senator Shehu Sani. What is your message to Nigerians who wish to expose corrupt acts but are afraid of its consequences? And what is your advice to the members of the 9th Assembly and the federal government on the need to strengthen whistleblower through legislation? First to Nigerians, secondly to the National Assembly.
Well, I will first to the National Assembly first. And it also goes to the National Assembly and the executive arm of the state. When you are making laws, know that you are making laws for eternity, and power is transient. If you think you are in power today, you are protected, you are insulated. You should think of tomorrow when you are not in power. And if you make laws to suit you today because you are in power, tomorrow it will suit another person, and then you will be at the receiving end. And so that is for the executive and legislature. And they should speed up and make sure this law comes into being, since both the National Assembly and the executive have portrayed themselves to be one. Secondly, to Nigerians, the only advice I will give them is that they should continue to build the idea of engaging their lawmakers, putting pressure on them, and participating in protests that will lead to the National Assembly. Because each time a senator is moving into his office or member House of Reps and he see a crowd of people protesting, he knew that he has a conscious and awakened citizenry that are monitoring what he is doing, and that will also tell on his own political career.
Thank you so much. Continuous engagement with the legislatures. Whistleblower is key in the fight against corruption. And it is our civic responsibility, you and I as citizens, to expose any corrupt act whenever we see or perceive it around us. And with this, we have come to the end of this special radio town hall meeting on whistleblowing and whistleblower protection. We sincerely appreciate our guests, Senator Shehu Sani, who is a former member of the Nigerian Senate, Nelson Kebodi, an Abuja-based legal practitioner, Princess Halima Jibril, media consultant, public affairs analyst, and an activist, and Emmanuel Ibeleme, editor at Nigerian Pilot Newspaper. Thank you so much for being here today. If you have a message for us or you want to react to what you heard on this program, please reach us on 0902 265 6167. That is 0902 265 6167. Please visit the news page of our website, primognews.org. That is primognews.org for all the details of our reports and interviews. Visit our website, www.primog.org, to get all information about Primog. This town hall meeting on whistleblowing is ably supported by the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. Get more information about the foundation at its website, macfound.org. Many thanks to the Primog team for their wonderful work. The executive producer of this town hall meeting is Okiria Agbonsuremi. Don't fail to report corruption when you see or encounter it in any form. I am Adelbi Obiabumo. Please stay safe.